Welcome back to A Sharper Life, the podcast that provides actionable tips, inspiring stories, and expert interviews to help you live your own sharper life. If you are new here, welcome. And if you're a returning listener, I am grateful to have your support. So today we have an absolutely mind-blowing conversation with none other than Dr. John Gray. I am sure that you have heard of him, as he is the author of the most well-known and trusted relationship book of all time, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, which spent 235 weeks on the New York Times bestseller list. Dr. Gray has written over 20 books on relationships and personal growth. John's wisdom about the inherent differences between men and women, as well as what it takes to build lasting, loving relationships, have now influenced multiple generations of men and women. In today's absolutely fascinating and insightful conversation, John is sharing his wisdom on a sharper life to do with everything from how to get what you want in relationship. Ladies, yes, he is going to tell you how to get your man to do what you want. He's going to be sharing hacks to find more polarity in your love life. And I am sorry, ladies, but we go over why men will never want to take out the trash, but how to get them to start doing it. Everything that he says is filled with wisdom, science-backed research, and it will change the way that you approach dating after a breakup. He has some really interesting viewpoints on how long you should wait to date after a breakup, and why wanting to change your partner will never give you the results that you want. So without further ado, please welcome the one and only Dr. John Gray on A Sharper Life. John Gray, it is such an honor to have you on this podcast. Honestly, your book has been incredibly life-changing for so many people. So welcome to A Sharper Life.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be with you, Nikki.
Amazing. So I wanted to start off, USA Today rated Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus one of the top 10 most influential books of the last quarter century. What is it about this book that was so life-changing compared to other relationship books that we have available?
You know, people often ask me, I was married 34 years to my wife. She passed 5 years ago. But they come up and say, you know, how can you how can you be so perfect? Are you as perfect as you describe in your book? Okay. And I say, yes, because I don't require perfection. My book doesn't say people have to change. People can change to become better. And I write books on therapy and helping healing and various things. But when it comes to relationships, if you can start from a place of my partner doesn't have to change, but I have to change my interpretation of my partner's behavior. So that a lot of that book is based on not even telling people anything they have to do to change. There are some things at the end that you can practices and things you can do. But the concept, for example, men go to their caves. A man doesn't have to change. You don't have to change your husband. You have to change the way you're interpreting his husband by realizing much of the time he's not mad at you. Because often when women are upset with a man, they withhold, they go to their cave. I'm not talking to you. Well, what men can do that as well. But most of the time, a man just tired. He needs to just be on his own for a while. And now I have the biological understanding of that, which is in later books. I explain the biology. He's rebuilding the testosterone of the day. He needs 10 times to 20 times more testosterone. Being alone or being disconnected from the people he loves, not he's against them, but just time alone doing whatever he is challenged by, a hobby, something he enjoys doing, that rebuilds his testosterone. So there's a cycle. He goes to work, he comes home. Now he doesn't have to feel guilty for having a hobby, but just keep it within a time zone. Okay, so you're coming out of your cave. And then women don't have to change. They need to talk about their feelings or whatever. A man basically realizes that, all right, why we get in arguments is I'm always trying to fix her or tell her what to do or try to solve her problem or offer my advice. Don't do that. She doesn't need that. That's not what she's asking for. So once a man really understands she's not asking you to do that, then he stops doing that and he can focus on a small change, which is help me understand that better. Tell me more. What else? Because now he understands that if women can talk, sometimes they're talking to have solve a problem together, but sometimes they're talking just to feel good. And sometimes they're talking to feel intimacy, to get close. These are requirements that women's biology needs in order to balance hormones. Men have other biological needs in order to balance his hormones. And so because we're so confused today about gender, I wrote the whole book on the biology of men and women and how all the relationship skills I've been teaching for years actually go towards producing what I can do as a man produces female hormones in her. What she can do for me, ideally, produces my male hormones. And then we have balance and we can connect. So anyway, the point you asked the question why it was so popular is that people felt like I'm following them around. I'm describing their relationships. It was surprising how many people are going through the same misunderstandings because we didn't have knowledge of how men and women are different. And then you kind of go, well, why didn't people figure this out a long time ago? What people didn't figure out a long time ago, they knew men and women are different, but they didn't understand the positive reasons that we're different. Usually those differences didn't show up the most because historically men were away all day doing their male thing. Women were taking care of their children. And now we moved into this new space where we're suddenly no longer focusing on survival. We're focusing more on our emotional needs. And so my books explain what men can do to support women's emotional needs, what women can do to support men's different emotional needs. And now we have something called making love, which everybody hopes to make love, whereas in the past it was just sex. So it's a transition period where we're starting to, it started turning into gender fluidity, which is as a man, I can access my female side. Some men have more female side. But often if they have more female side, which are going to be your rock and roll stars, your artists, your creative people, they tend to, if they're men, they tend to have more access to their female qualities. But then they also have more access to drugs and problems and divorce and crazy life. Why? Because nobody taught them. All right, if you're easy access to your female side, you have to have certain things you do to come back to your male side. Okay, to balance it. And now we have the phenomenon of women being very independent and successful, but being alone. Why can't they find a man? Why does their relationship doesn't last? Well, not that it's all so simple, but on a bigger scale, it's if you're over on your male side, something's missing. You have to also be nurturing your female side. And so a lot of my ideas direct women, okay, I need to create time in my life to nurture my female side, and I can use a man to do that.
If you had to rewrite Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus today in 2024, what concepts would you keep the same and what would you change?
Well, that's a great question. And that's exactly why I rewrote Men Are From Mars as Beyond Mars and Venus. It's the updated version of Men Are From Mars. But it is astounding how accurate that book is in terms of when you look at actually the biology of men and women, it really is in complete resonance in harmony with the biology of men and women. For example, one of the Mars Venus ideas, it's so popular, is for men to understand with women, if big gifts of love, little gifts of love, it all has the same response. So if I give her 24 roses, you get so happy you got 24 roses. If I bring her 3 roses, oh, so happy you brought me 3 roses. I go to work once you're married and I go to work, really work hard. I come home basically, oh, I'm so glad I'm married to my husband. He works hard. But if she's also out working hard, then she gets a point, he gets a point, it kind of neutralizes out. So what women need, which I talked about then, which is lots of little expressions of love because they score big with women. It's the adding it up. And it's kind of like a bank. You're filling up the bank. So then when he blows it, forgets something, whatever, it's just a few minuses, but she's still got plenty of affection and warmth for him. But you got to build this up and the skills to do it, the same things I suggested in Men Are From Mars. However, I have so many more hacks. Okay. I mean, over
share
40 years, so many extra things that I didn't put in that book, but I still agree with everything in that book. If you're in a more traditional relationship, if you're not so traditional, then women will feel like she's from Mars and men will feel like she's from Mars. it's kind of complimentary for women in our culture to be more like men, not so complimentary for men to be more like women. But their wives will often say, I feel like I'm from Mars and my husband's from Venus. But men generally don't say that. We still have the thing about, I'm a man, I want to be a man. And it's good to be a man and also have a big heart. We'll call that our feminine side.
I mean, I would love to know more of the hacks, and actually, that was my next question. I feel like I actually agree with everything you're saying, and we'll get into that because I do have quite a few questions on the gender roles and reversals. But you have written, I mean, a number of books. I believe 16 in total as of today, and 12 are directly related to romantic relationships. What are like 3 tips from all of your work? If you had to sum it up into like 3 bullet points or 3 hacks, 3 tips, what are those 3 that you wish that people knew?
Well, gosh, the hacks are a lot of little things. But if you want to do 3 big things, is to recognize anytime you're feeling not your best self, your hormones are out of balance. Now we know this to be the case. It's measurable. When you're stressed, when you're ruminating on negativity, if you're focusing on negativity, what's happening is you're producing stress hormones and blood flow is no longer flowing correctly to both parts of your prefrontal cortex. Okay, so anytime you're not feeling able to access the loving part of you, there's a hormonal imbalance. That's a profound thing. Now, the next thing that's going on is for women, what is that hormonal balance? In almost all cases, she's too far producing male hormones than her female hormones. And for men, it's he's producing too many female hormones, not male hormones. Let me give you an example of that, which is for a man, if he's aggressive and angry, he's producing female hormones. Most people think that's masculine. No, that's when men tip over from being masculine. Masculine is cool, calm, and collected. I'm here for you. Or I'll kill you to protect my children, but I'll still do it calmly. Okay. I'll figure it out. I'm not going to be just this emotional person, getting mad and angry and all that. That's when men are out of balance. So balance again, what men show aggression, our men show addiction, our men have passivity, negative emotions when they're weak on their masculine side and strong on, and not strong, but they just have too much estrogen for their biology. So you have to have a balance here. So, and how can I say that? We already know that all negativity and problems in relationships coexist with elevated stress levels. Elevated stress levels always coexist with hormonal imbalance. And the third is that there are a range of of behavioral hacks and insights that can help you to balance your hormones. And if you don't know those, you will tend to always do the wrong thing. For example, if I didn't know that eating ice cream puts on weight, I get, in my 70s, I found out that if I eat too much ice cream, I get a big belly. So I can't really eat much ice cream. So better not to eat it at all, because there's a tendency when you eat ice cream, if you go with what you feel to do, I'll follow my heart. Well, I'll just eat the whole thing. Okay. So usually going out of balance is the thing that feels easiest. Going out of balance is the thing that feels good. Most of the things that we do that are not productive for our soul, for our growth, for our relationships, in the moment feel good. When a man's yelling and screaming, it feels good. Okay. But it's not a good thing to do. So that's a dynamic, which is we need to have wisdom to know what direction do I need to go in. If you're walking a tightrope, think about balance and a person walking a tightrope. You're going to always go a little bit to the left. You have to go a little bit to the right, a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. So when it's just little stress, you can find your balance. But if you get tipped way over, then you're just going to keep going. There's a place where you just keep going. So when women go too far, they're male, they just keep going. And it doesn't feel natural or easy to come back to their female side. Just very hard to do. When you've fallen over, you got to get up and go back over. So same thing for men. When you go to your female side, it's so easy to go to your female side, and then it's hard to come back. So, but it feels like the right thing. We live in a society of convenience and do what you like and do what you feel like. It just takes you down the wrong road. So just because something feels good doesn't mean it's the right thing for you to do if you want to feel good later and you want to continue to grow and be healthy, motivated, successful, happy, forgiving, stay in love if you have a relationship, or find the right person if you're not in a relationship.
As you touched on there, just with the balance, and I love the tightrope analogy there. And I definitely agree. Once you fall off, it's much harder to get back on. But I personally have been noticing a big shift in society, just as I'm sure you have and all of your clients, that it feels like a gender imbalance, and more women are in their masculine, more men are in their feminine, and a lot of women are maybe the breadwinners at home, which is creating a loss of polarity or a loss of attraction and more resentment that I'm seeing in relationships. So my question on that is, what do we need to know about these shifts? Like, why have they been happening? And how do we actually restore the gender balance to have lasting love in relationships?
Well, that was a lot of questions in one. Great discovery. Actually, I remember when I started approaching that, Beyond Mars and Venus, my book now goes into a more developed answer to that. I remember when I wrote the book, Why Mars and Venus Collide. That was the essence of it, which is why are we colliding? And it's because women are now more independent. And there's a whole progression of that, which is birth control. World War II, where women were all in the factories, and people realize, hey, we can make money on women. They don't charge as much. Sorry, but that's what men think. They were willing to work for less.
That's the truth.
And
Yeah.
it is the truth, because particularly if you've got a baby at home, you'll do whatever it takes to get what you need. And men are always a little bit more, I want a better job, I want to make more money, and so forth. They tend to be more demanding. But this is a very small thing. But the big deal is birth control. Okay, as soon as women had birth control, and then they were now free to have sex and be like, we want to be like men. So then why do women want to be like men? Okay, where did that come from? Because there was an evolutionary shift. This is my perspective. I always sort of see the positive side of things, but an evolutionary shift when you're in a survival mode. Basically, in all cultures where they're in survival, men do very masculine things, women do very feminine things. And there are feminine things. Some people say, oh, how can you say one's masculine and one's feminine? Because one produces testosterone, and male biology requires 10 to 20 times more testosterone. And certain behaviors produce estrogen. We call those are the nurturing behaviors, the sharing, the talking, the cooperation, non-competitive. All of that is very estrogen producing. So now we can say we have feminine behaviors, masculine behaviors, because we know they go along with the production of certain hormones. And we know that sick men who have heart attacks, men who die early, men who all have low testosterone. Okay, that's just a given. And women, that most people don't know that you don't die, you don't have a heart attack unless you have increasingly lower and lower testosterone levels. Because see, when your testosterone goes down as a man, what always is occurring in the body is elevated cortisol levels. Elevated cortisol oxidizes cholesterol, and then what you have is something called oxidized cholesterol. Cholesterol is great. There's no problem. It's the oxidized cholesterol that has some association with heart attacks. But I make this simple association, which is what insurance companies will tell you. After a man retires, he generally has 2 to 3 years to stay alive. And that's their statistic. He goes to work every day. Well, what happens over the board when men stop working, their testosterone levels crash. So these are a lot of associations I put together, which is don't stop working, men. You can always find a job that you like more, but you've got to have something you got to have a goal every day that you have to do. Whenever you feel I have to do something, I made a promise, I made a commitment, I'm required to do this for some good reason, testosterone goes up. So when women are in the work world, their testosterone goes up too. And women have lots of testosterone. It's just that men have 10 times more to feel good. But for women, when they're feeling stressed, they're feeling overwhelmed, they're feeling unhappy, they're feeling dissatisfied, always their estrogen levels are low and their cortisol levels are elevated. That's just the dynamic. It can be a little confused. Everything I say, there's always a little yes, but, and you have to explain that. But you might test your cortisol levels and you say, oh, my cortisol levels are low. Well, that's because in many cases your adrenal gland is burnt out. Okay, so this is why women have menopausal symptoms, is their adrenal gland is burnt out. They've been under stress for so long, the adrenal gland stops making the cortisol hormone. Cortisol is a very important hormone, but you shouldn't be living in it all the time. So again, the behaviors that I suggest in the Mars Venus books and teaching us how to do those things that will raise estrogen in women, raise testosterone in men. Now, you gave a big, wonderful question, which is why all this is happening. That's one, which is, but really, you'll feel so many women will say, look, I love my independence. I love my freedom. I don't have somebody controlling me. Okay, that's important. We just, that's why on the male side, what we have is entrepreneur males. We don't want anybody controlling us. There's a place in our evolution of consciousness where we get beyond survival, where we have greater self-awareness of who we are. Self-awareness of who we are, well, who I am is a balance of masculine and feminine. I'm able to access my feminine qualities, access my masculine qualities. Some people are just born this way. Some people develop into that, but our culture has developed into that. Historically, it was your poets, your artists, your musicians. They were the ones that were just born with more connection more access as men to their female side. Okay. And for some women, more access to their male side. But generally, when women had access to their male side, it was because they felt unsafe. Okay. When women feel unsafe, they go right to their male side. If I can't depend on you, I'll do it myself. But there's a distinction of men, and we can look at the brain differences in men, which is that women already universally have way more connective tissue between the left and right hemispheres of the brain. They even have more connective tissue between different parts of the left and right hemispheres of the brain. They have 7 times more white matter in their brain. So that means you kind of, depending on the situation, you become masculine, you become feminine. That's always been the case for women. When you're in a nurturing role to a child, you're actually very masculine. You're the CEO of the house. You're responsible for them. You're workaholic. Your body's designed to do that because you have 25% more fat cells, which give you way more energy than men, so that you can stay on. Because women they just never turn off, basically. They're always there. It's a biological thing because the baby cries, you have to be there. So you're designed this way. Men don't have that design. We're there and we're not. We're in and we're out. Okay. We have to go out and do our best, and then we have to completely recover. We turn off. There's a great Harvard study on this one, which is having a woman sit down, put on the equipment on the brain and measure brain activity and ask her to relax. Her brain speeds up. Okay. And what's happening is she's thinking of all the things that she should be doing that she's not doing in the experiment. Whereas you put the men down and you tell them just relax, and then the brain activity almost stops. Okay. I mean, it really settles down dramatically. And you ask him, what are you thinking? He'll say nothing. So there you have scientific evidence, women, that when your husband says nothing, he means nothing. Which is, women can't believe him. Okay. Because she's always got something going on. And men can't understand that either. When a woman feels safe to talk, I mean, it's amazing how long women can talk about what's going on compared to what a man can talk. I can talk for hours and hours, but only to solve problems. It's always to solve a problem, to provide as a teacher, I'm solving problems, helping people understand things better. So anyway, once we get out of the survival mode, we have technology, we have all of this convenience in our life. We're no longer struggling, at least the way it used to be. The poorest person on the planet is similar to the King of England a long time ago. You have to go outside in the cold, and you don't get grocery stores. And, life has become so convenient now. It's never been better, for at least in our recent history. So having said that, the convenience takes us out of survival and struggle as much compared to what it used to be. And now we shift into a new world of emotional needs, being aware of what we need emotionally, and access to who we truly are and what we really need and what we're missing, et cetera, et cetera. But in that self-awareness, what we become aware of is we have the ability to access both our male and female sides. So see, every male starts out female. Okay. We're all first 3 weeks, there's no differentiation between a boy and a girl in the womb. And we have, as males, all of the genes that women have. But then at 3 weeks, this Y chromosome releases activates 23 genes that women don't have. And these 23 genes override a bunch of female genes, so we can't do the things you do. Now, those genes that override, if those don't get produced, then sometimes men can be like women. Okay, so there's a dynamic there of needing the stimulation to activate those genes to override our female genes, certain female genes. So there's distinctions. But now suddenly we have this psychological self-awareness. I can be in touch with all my female qualities and my male qualities. You can be in touch with your female qualities because the soul is both masculine and feminine. So then this thing started happening called gender fluid. Now, gender fluid means I can be feminine and I can be masculine. I can relate to women. I can relate to men. But what we have to know is it's every male. When you're producing the female hormones more than your male hormones, you're producing stress. So you're unhappy. So what you want to find your balance within yourself. So when women had access to both their masculine and feminine sides, their male side wanted to balance the female. You know, you have a male side and you felt oppressed by the culture that said you couldn't be educated, you couldn't make babies, you couldn't what was it? You couldn't be educated. You had to make babies all the time. No, you couldn't delay it and so forth. So basically your soul, you felt, I can't connect with my whole self. I need to be doing something. And some women more so than others based upon personality and temperament and so forth, because we're all uniquely different. Some women just want to run the country. Some women want to punch the accelerator in their car and take off, you know. There's no problem with women being masculine. It's just if they're not happy, then it's because they're not in balance with their female side. And likewise for men, one of the symptoms for men is too much happiness. I say women, when they go to their male side, they're too much, they're overwhelmed and they're stressed and they're not happy and they don't feel love in their hearts. It's hard to let go of the resentments which you're talking about. For men, when we go to our female side, what that is usually basically when a man has addiction, he's too far on his female side. The female side says, I depend on others to make me happy. And for example, women that don't have enough people they can trust and depend on for happiness, they often depend too much on food, for example. So they overeat. Overeating is also just a symptom of low estrogen production. So, but for men, low testosterone production means I'm feeling inadequate as a male. I have a goal, but I don't think I can achieve it. So I'm not producing testosterone. Testosterone says, I can do it. Right. So here are my no testosterone. So at that point, it's so easy just to go over the female side and blame somebody for why, or blame myself, or create an excuse. And then during that time where I'm on my female side, I'm depending on something. So I can start depending on things to make me feel good instead of depending on myself to feel good. See, that's masculinity. I feel good based upon what I do in my life. Look what I'm doing in my life that makes me feel good. Then for a man, I go to my female to feel even better. I go to her to go to my female side. I mean, that's what sex is. I mean, this is so funny. It's so clear. Men have sex to go to their female side. Men get older. They stop having sex because they're too far on their female side. You have sex to get to your female side, but you have to be coming from your masculine side. Once you're on your female side, there's no sex. There's no desire. You know, at 72 years old, I had the best sex life of my life. Okay. And my male friends at this age, I've been there, I've done it, but they're just over on their female side, partially retired. You know, and if they actually do retire and they just have fun and do what they enjoy doing, and they don't make a difference serving other people in some meaningful way, they will die. That's the insurance companies will tell you that. So the major cause of all dysfunction in men is low testosterone. And again, there's a little bit more complicated. You have something called the psychopath. Okay. Now I don't know, it could be 1 out of 100, could be 1 out of 10 men. I don't know. Different people say different things, but a psychopath, sociopath, most politicians are psychopaths or sociopaths. They could not get into that office. This is other people's books writing about this that I read, who are university professors who are experts on these things. But what I'm an expert on is when a man is a sociopath or psychopath, what you have is a man with high testosterone, but no emotion, no estrogen. See, estrogen gives us emotion and connection. And that balances the testosterone. But when you have no feeling, then you're the most powerful. That's so interesting, is a man with no feeling. Because see, what holds every man back is the fear of failure, the fear of hurting people, the fear of not being seen good enough. Some people just don't care, and they become the perfect actors and fakers. They can model anything because they have no sense of true self is really what happens, because the true self is both masculine and feminine. And this is what's happening today with all the kids being so hypersensitive, getting their feelings hurt all the time. They have no sense of self, which is I have a male side and a female side. The female side of us is the part of us that lets other people affect us. And the male side of us is not affected. See, so I have this, I was a Hindu monk for 9 years, celibate, and I cultured the consciousness that I'm fine by myself. I don't need anybody. I'm one with the universe. Okay. When you're one with the universe, you have no sense of self even, because you're one with everything. So this is a culturing of a process. Not everybody has that. I get that. But I was very dedicated to meditation and all of that. I still am. It's still a part of me. But I'm using it as a context of when you look at the teachings of when you teach meditation, it's an expanded awareness. There's a detachment. There's a lack of attachment. There's a freedom from attachment, which is cultured through practice. Well, that's pure masculinity. Pure masculinity is not attached. Okay. It's selfless. Pure femininity is complete attachment. I need you. You're mine. We're together. And making love, you see, making love is a feeling of I'm yours. Okay. There's no me. I'm you have me. But you're mine. There's also attachment at the same time. So when you have this masculine, feminine energy together, then you have oneness, and it's ecstatic. That's when you're connecting with the soul, which, making love for me is another advanced practice to connect with oneness with my soul and then bring that light out into the world. And so I'm just charged up by the ability to find the balance within myself. And couples, when they fall in love, that's sometimes the happiest time of their life, because they're experiencing that polarity that you mentioned. There's this polarity of masculine and feminine, like the positive pole and the negative pole on a magnet. They come together. They just feel a natural friendliness here. But once you get naked and get close, it's like magnets, they'll click. And that's the passion that you can experience in making love. And then it's so much energy that then people can't hold on to that. It takes a while to be able to hold on to that all the time. So they sort of go the other direction, but then they come back. And these are just the natural forces. So I guess I'm getting my track here back to your question, which is, why is this happening? It's happening, I think, on a spiritual level because we've outgrown the traditional roles, and that now we want to find our true, unique, authentic self and our own gifts to the world, which happen when we're in balance within our masculine and feminine. It doesn't happen when, as a man, I'm too far to my female, or I'm not connected to my female at all. And for a woman, when she's too far to her masculine, not connected to her female, or she has no masculinity. And that's rare today. Is it, what will happen? That will be, if you remember the movie, The Stepford Wives, do you remember something about that?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Maybe you don't. If they were all antidepressants, basically, because they're completely bored and in their lives, their husbands were bored. But these were women who were beyond survival, but they didn't have a job. They're just staying home all the time. And so what they experience is anxiety and depression from too much estrogen. Okay, so this is historically, hysteria is what they used to call anxiety in women. She's hysterical, she's not being rational at all. And people kind of go, oh, women weren't hysterical. Yes, some women were. It was since the Greek days has been diagnosed why women were not in politics, because only people in politics were wealthy people, first of all. So you have to be wealthy. And a wealthy wife, part of the status of being a wealthy couple is that a woman had many servants. They're actually slaves, but they had many servants who did everything for her. So when people do things for you, it produces estrogen. But they weren't allowed to do things themselves. And ironically, the solution for these women, it was 25% of women generally had this, and mostly wealthy women. It was they would say, oh, you need rest, and more people taking care of you. The wrong solution. They need to be gardening. They need to be farmers. They need to get out there, because the peasants did not have the depression. They're all like happy people. I remember watching the movie Camelot. What do the simple folk do? they make love, they have sex, whereas the king and queen, we're not having sex at all, because the woman has to have her own freedom. She can't just be depending on others. She doesn't have to have a certain status and look a certain way, whatever. So women wanted that freedom, men wanted that freedom, and that's where we're in this place. But there's a lot of confusion because equal does not mean we're the same. We want to be equal, but it does not mean we're the same. It's a powerful mantra: equal, but not the same. We have to keep remembering that we are equal, but not the same. If I expect you to have an equal relationship, we want equality. That's really great. So in equality, if I want an equal relationship with my partner, and I think we have to be the same, then because we are different, when the differences show up, then something's wrong with her or something's wrong with me. And that's this place that people get caught up in. It's like, what's wrong with women? They're talking about their feelings. Well, nothing wrong with them. That's going to be that's foreplay for great sex, buddy. Just don't talk and ask questions.
Amen to that. I mean, you just went on such an incredible, I want to call it a tangent, because you touched on so many different things there that I want to then respond to and ask questions on like every single thing. But I will agree, it's interesting. I just went through a divorce and I just moved from Miami to London, and going through that and being here, I even was joking on my private stories where I was like, I want to create a company called Rent a Husband, because at this moment in time, I'm having to hire TaskRabbit people to come over and like do things like help me unpack and then repack and put the boxes out and hang things. And like, can I do them? Yes, I can. But I've learned enough about my own masculine and feminine energy where I know that if I am doing all of these things, it is taking away from that feminine energy that I have to give and I want to give. And it drains me because that's not the place I should be doing. Where it was funny, actually, there was a guy that came over the other day, and literally within like 10 minutes, he had unpacked a TV, repacked the TV, hooked everything up, And for me, I was like, that would have taken me an hour. I could have done it, but it goes so much into what you're saying of the task oriented, the driven. Now, I do have a follow-up question.
Can I comment on that?
Please.
I'm going to comment on so important. Rent a boyfriend, rent a husband. Such a brilliant idea. It's so great. Somebody needs to do it.
Wait, can I tell you the full idea though? And I'm sure someone will take it, but honestly, I'm like, this would like become my $1 billion idea. I almost shouldn't be telling it, but I Googled and it's not a thing. And I had a friend be like, that's an escort. I'm like, no. What I want is someone to come over exactly when I need them, to be here when the delivery, so I don't have to go in my robe for the deliveries. Come, unpack the things, set them up, put the boxes. Great. Now I'm laying there, offer me a cup of tea and say, Nikki, how was your day? Tell me more. And I'm like, oh my God. So that's my $1 billion idea, Rent a Husband.
No, it's absolutely fantastic. It's like, let's practice until we get the right guy. Okay. So it's very, very, very significant. From my side, it was a woman came to me in a class and she was 78 years old and she's a virgin. And so she's coming to me for my class on sex. And, I took her to the side and said, basically we have there are services for this. You can rent an escort and he will do all the romantic things that you need. So they help warm you up so you're ready for a relationship. Another woman, to me, the highest value is sex with love and in commitment, right? So you go higher and higher. The more a woman feels a man is fully committed to her and deeply in love with her, the safer she'll feel, the higher estrogen can go. But while also has this male side of her, which knows that I know how to create that in my life. There's the confidence. This man loves me and he's there for me. So, but maybe I don't even want to go there, but basically what I told her is get the escort. They will do this. You need to have the experience of men giving to you. When I see women, and since you recently divorced, I wrote a whole book on starting over after a marriage. And two things is realize, how you contributed to the problems. And sometimes it's marrying the wrong man or it's going the wrong, usually there are challenges in relationships with divorce. Always see that from your side how you contributed to it. And two, when you're ready, but don't wait too long, get back on the horse. And what that means is the kid falls off the horse. You don't want to have him be, I'm afraid to get on a horse. It just, the more you act from fear, the more you align your brain, which is that the fear is real. So create a series of positive dating experiences without looking for the right person. Really good to know. Just so you look at this relationship. Okay, what do I need to learn from that relationship? Now let me get in a dating relationships where I can practice that, where it's not the real thing. Because when you're if let's say a woman is codependent, where she makes a man his needs more important than her own, then she feels resentment because she's giving more than he's giving her. All right, so that's a very common pattern. So what you want to do when you're dating then is you take the men that are interested in you that you're not trying to pursue. Because as soon as you're trying to go after a man, those pattern of giving more than thinking more about their needs than yours will come up. So be with the guy who is pursuing you more than you're pursuing him. That gives you a power to shift your behaviors. So that tendency to be codependent of wanting to give more than you're getting goes away.
Do you agree? And I've heard this before, that you should be single for as long as your last relationship was, to do the inner work. Now, I'm personally not of that thought, because I'm consistently doing my own inner work, as you said, like, how did I contribute? Why did I choose this person? But in a shorter version, because I have a important question that I know is going to help a lot of women here. Do you believe that we should wait to start dating?
No. I think you should start dating as soon as you can. But you shouldn't be looking for the right person. You should be looking to try out your new skills, see, every time there's a problem, what we want to do is come back to a place of loving ourselves, loving others, knowing that we all make mistakes. But what's my strategy? What did I learn from that? So hopefully you've learned a lot of things from the relationship. Now you want to go out and practice what you learned. And certainly what you learned is not to give up on relationship. So it's just simply, I lost my wife, 5 years ago, the most devastating thing for me. So I grieved for 2 years and then went out and got married. So there was a timing for me. I mean, when you have 34 years of attachment, you need more time to grieve. So I'm all for that. But at the same time, during that grieving time, I was dating. Okay. So I didn't just stop dating, but I just said, look, I need contact. I have needs. I want to get those needs met, but I'm not going to look for falling in love with somebody. And then I did after 2 years. Generally, 2 years was a good time for me. But I know so many guys that just don't get started again. Statistically, women take 9 years after a divorce.
Whoa.
Statistically, it's just too long. It's too long. Because what you're doing is saying, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. Well, what's behind I'm not ready is I'm afraid. One of the fears is not always obvious. I thought he was the one and now it wasn't. I can't trust myself. So I'm afraid I can't trust myself. On the surface is I can't trust men. But the other one is, I thought he was the one. So how can I believe myself next time? So don't try to look for the one. One of my favorite concepts is, if you visit my house, I have a lovely home. You would think, oh, what a lovely home. But if you wanted to buy the home, you would start looking for everything that's wrong with it. And in California, you actually hire somebody to find out everything that's wrong with the house before you buy the house. So give yourself this sort of free time to practice new relationship skills based on what you learned in the past relationship, by not trying to find the right person right away, but just get your basic needs met, whatever they might be.
I love that. I love that you're saying, go out and test out new skills and stop looking for the one. And I couldn't agree more. So, important question that I know so many women and clients deal with. And actually, right before we got on the call, I was telling you that a client had messaged me and was saying, my husband, when he gets stressed, he just shuts down, and some stuff happened in his childhood and he doesn't talk about it. So let's talk about emotionally unavailable, or when men are stressed, some actual tips for women. Like, what do women need to know about a man who is not opening up emotionally, and how do we get them to open up?
That is the most common, most important question that I find an answer for. And the answer is so shockingly different from the answer you're looking for. Stop trying to open a man up. Okay. The more you try to help a man, the more his testosterone goes down. Men can only open up when their testosterone is up. And what they open up to is feeling love for you as the woman and for the family and the children. He has to do his work himself. As soon as you start trying to help him, you're making mother hormones. Okay. It only weakens a man when you mother him, when you're trying to help him. Don't try to help him. And get him to open up. I say to women, no, you don't want a man to open up. You want a man who's safe. I'm suggesting this, okay? Ideally, what you can have in this world is a man you can train to make it safe for you to open up. See, the female is the opening up part. The man is the inserting part, okay? I know this is the opposite of what women think, but any woman who's with called a man who goes to his cave too much, and some men do go to their cave too much, then she is too much trying to get into the cave. She's codependent. When you have what, quote, narcissistic, selfish man, you have a woman who's making men's needs more important than your own. She thinks, I need to help him. I need to go into him. He has childhood issues. Yeah, we all have childhood issues, by the way. And they come up more and more when we're out of survival. When we get out of survival, then they become bubbling up even more. But when he goes to his cave, he's upset. He's stressed. Ignore him at that time. Don't try to help him. And before that, as much as you can, use him to help you. Men thrive when we're helping you. Whenever you think you're here to help us, forget it. You're just going to weaken a man. What you give to us is we need love. And what is love that raises testosterone? The kind of love that relates. I mean, my wife always says to me, you're so amazing. You're just so amazing. What do I do for you? You do everything for me. I'm an amazing guy. I do everything for her. I say, you don't understand. I don't need you to do so much for me. I just need your love. I need you to appreciate me so much. You don't complain about me. You depend on me. You ask me to do stuff when I do it. You're just so happy. You're so fulfilled in our relationship. That's what I need. I need to come home and feel that I make a big difference to this woman. Now, sometimes you find out what's true by looking at problems. If you look at men who are getting divorced or coming in and they're not happy in their relationship, I take them to the side. Okay, what's the bottom line here? Because men will go to the bottom line real quickly. And a man will go to, no matter what I do, it's never enough to make her happy. All we want is to come home to somebody who thinks we made a difference in their life and they're happy. Not that they're just happy. No, that we as men make them happier. She has a job to be happy. I have a job that might produce happiness from my work. Women have to have happiness from their relationships that are not dependent on a man. Then my job is to make her happier. And if I can make her happier than anybody else, I feel like king of the world. That's what I need as a man. So she's trying to help him. Don't go into the cave. Don't ask him questions. That's the first step. And now you're going to start empowering him to be more masculine, because anytime a man is stressed, upset, he's not feeling empowered as a male. So the way you do that is now you start using him to help you. Because if I'm stressed out because somehow I don't feel successful at my job or my work with other people, well, at least I can come home to somebody who does need me, somebody who does appreciate me. And what are the basic things that women need? They have to learn, what do I need when I'm looking at my emotional needs? One thing is money and all that stuff, but once a woman can make money, that's not going to, what benefit is that? I can do it for myself. Well, then you have emotional needs, and we're talking about ask him to do little things. So you said you want to hear some of my hacks. So one of the hacks is the 5-minute rule. Every day, at any time, randomly put up your hand, which is, I'm going to make a request that I can do myself, but I'll feel really good if you do it for me immediately. Okay, so that's what romance is. I've analyzed all this stuff. Romance is when men do things for women that women can do for themselves, but they don't have to do because he's doing it for you. Can you relate to that?
Can I ask? I can, and that's my whole thing of like my rent a husband is like, I can do it. I just don't want to.
Yes, that's the point.
The question,
women have an obstacle. Their obstacle is the romantic fantasy that I shouldn't have to ask. Because it feels great if a man just knows. But if I have to ask, but that you have to ask. If you don't ask, you're doing nothing. You're it's called being a grown up. You ask, but women go, I don't want to ask. Why don't you want to ask? Because you don't trust him. You don't believe
Well,
he'll do
because
it. And the
women think, I would say one, speaking for myself and my clients
yeah,
is, and a lot of my friends who I help as well, and vice versa, is that we of course think that, okay, they should know that, I would
yeah,
love a coffee in the morning. But then the other thing is, when a man is stressed, and as a woman, and I can attest to this, is we don't want to add more burden to their stress. So it's kind of, for a woman, it's the counterintuitive of, you're saying, actually, if they are stressed, ask
you're
them to
going to
help you
lower his
out.
stress. Yes. Yes. It's the opposite.
Really?
Everything is the opposite of what people think. I'm telling
So
you.
basically,
Men,
women, it's the opposite of what you think. Start doing the opposite. Your relationship will be
that's how
good.
it was 40 years ago when I was counseling women. I would have my solutions, and I thought, why don't I just start thinking the opposite game? Sometimes the opposite is what works, but it's so real here, which is you explain two of the major things. I don't want to burden him, and another one is I don't trust him. Okay, maybe I'm asking too much. I mean, like, if you're a coach, how much can I charge? You always want to raise your raise, but how much can I do it? What can I ask for? It's a big deal. But when you're in a relationship with a man, what happens is that men go in, when they're stressed, they hyper focus, and it's hard to shift directions. So if you say, honey, would you make me tea? Well, you can do that yourself. That's going to be his reaction. And it's also going to be a grumble. I call it the Mars grumbles. Okay. And when a man grumbles, it's because he's being asked to do something that in the moment he's doing something else that he really wants to do. He's going to grumble. But once he does the thing you've asked him to do, the grumble is gone. It's gone. It goes away. It's ephemeral. It just disappears. Women can't think that way, because if I get my wife to grumble, she remembers forever. If she's doing something, I know, honey, I really need you to do this. I need you to pick up the clothes, and you got to do this. Okay, I'll do this. But she doesn't let it go. She goes and picks up the clothes, and she's thinking, I still have to do all these other things. What's he doing for me? It's a whole big deal. Men are not that way. We're like real simple. Is once you get us to do the thing, once we take action, see, the shift is I grumble, kind of like opening a rusty window, it's making a squeaky noise. But once it opened, now I've shifted into another gear to do what you asked me to do. There's a little bit of grumbling, and then I forget the grumbles, because to achieve a goal produces testosterone. The grumbles go away. And then I'm anticipating, all right, I did this. Does she appreciate it? And that's where you have to be very careful to say, oh, thank you. Oh, that feels so good. Oh, I'm so glad you did it. And even to have the attitude of, it's an attitude of, isn't it nice? I didn't have to do that. So that's that's the grumble.
I was gonna say really quickly on that is, like, what are the best and worst things that women, like, you just said the best things, like, thank you, obviously, with a positive attitude. What are the worst things a woman can do after the grumble, and then the guy does it, so he's built up his testosterone? What do women normally do that then tear the man down?
Sabotage it. The first thing we should look at, clearly, when a man starts to grumble, first of all, the anticipation of bothering him, you don't ask. So that's one thing. Already you're sapping him of energy. Okay, just to know that you're not trusting him. Trust, when people come to me and they trust I'm going to help them, my testosterone goes up. So as soon as you're thinking, I don't want to, you're being a mother, you're being caring, I'm worrying about him, I don't want to bother him. You're going, that's a negative. Don't feel that way about men. You don't say to a fireman going into a fire, oh, be careful, whatever. It's my job. I do this sort of thing. We don't want somebody, oh, don't bother with the fire. The people can die. We don't want you to. No, we're doing our thing. So first thing she does is she doesn't ask. Second thing is she asks and she gets grumbles. And then she says, and part of grumbles is, I'll do it tomorrow. You ask him to do something. I'll do it tomorrow. But you've already asked 2 times. And then what you'd say, something like, I've already asked you 2 times. You'll probably forget tomorrow. Boom, you just lost him. You just ignore that. The art of training a man to respond to little requests. So let's go back a moment. Men don't respond to little requests because in our world, bigger is better. We don't know that lots of little is better for women. And when I'm training women and men, it's just using logic. If a woman can just go to him and say, I want to be able to ask every day for something that will take less than 5 minutes without being concerned about your response. Would you do that? 5 minutes. That's it. I love you. I'm your wife. I'm happy to, but what I need to make me feel, and what you can do is the psychology of how to present this to a man, because I can easily present it to a man, but you have to present it to your husband. You don't have another man teaching him. But what you do is you say, here's an approach you could use. Honey, sometimes you're just so amazing. I don't feel like I'm your equal. I don't feel like I have power. And I realize sometimes I complain just because they give me a sense of power, but I don't want to complain. But you're so amazing. You're so powerful. You get things done. And so you just basically build him up. You got to build a man up if you're going to ask him to make a change. All right. So, and you have to be reasonable about this. So I just, my wife says to me, I'm just giving you the example. She basically says, John, everybody thinks you're so amazing. I start feeling little. I feel like I don't have power. So, and I start realizing that I start to complain and get mad at you just to feel power. I don't want that. So I figured out another way to do it, which is I realized that if I can ask you to do something and you'll immediately do it, then I feel I have power. Otherwise, I don't feel you're equal. I feel like you're the boss and I'm the employee and I have to do everything. So I need to feel that equality. Does that make sense? You go, yeah, it makes a little sense. Then you say, so I don't want to burden you and whatever. But basically, what will give me a sense of power is I can ask you to do something for me and you'll do it right away. And what you do doesn't have to be big. It can be done within 5 minutes. So this is a hack, which is throughout every day at any random time, I'm going to put my hand up. And that means this is going to be a 5-minute request. It's something I can do for myself, but it will make me feel powerful and happy if you jump on it right away. Just like I was flying first class, feeling empowered in the airplane, the flight attendant comes up and says, Dr. Gray, it's so nice to see you. Anything you want, you can have your meal at any time. We'll adjust for you. We're right here for you. Just push this little button. See, then I feel, oh, so great. I have first class, right? She needs to feel first class and equal with him because you're amazing. I want to feel equal. So you have to build his ego up a little bit with this. Then you say the 5-minute rule. So this means in 5, raise a hand. Honey, would you go upstairs and get my lavender oil? He runs. And now would you take off my shoes and would you massage my feet? Lots of commands during that 5 minutes. And you're not allowed to do anything for yourself other than receive his help or support. Would you make me a cup of tea? And would you put just a half a teaspoon of sugar in it? Whatever. Give orders during that time. So you feel like you're asking for help and you're asking for help and you're getting it. And it's a huge estrogen producer. If you feel I can ask for help and get it, because what is this estrogen suppressant is feeling I can't ask for help. I have to do everything myself. And the key here is little things you can do. The littler it is, the easier it is for him to do. And now you're training him that doing little things for you has a big impact because men don't know that. See, that's what mothers know because you're doing little things all the time for men, but you're doing it for children. You're doing it for everybody. What's your birthday? What did this? You write the little card. You do this. You wrap the past. It's just women. They know all the little details of life. Is what makes a house a home. See, this is instinctive to women. It's a loving thing. Men are kind of like, we have you could call it the efficiency gene. Never do anything unless you have to do it. And bigger is better. I can do big. Why do I have to do little?
Is that why men don't take out the trash, even though women are like, honey, did you take out the trash? And because this is a fight that I've had clients get into often with their husbands is like, I mean, in the movie The Breakup, where Jennifer Aniston and Vince Vaughn, and she's like, I want you to want to take the trash out. So if we tell
we're never going to want to take the trash out. Okay. We're never going to. So this is a dynamic. If trash men were billionaires, we would be taking out the trash all the time. All right. And if we saw women going after trash men to marry, we would be doing the trash. It's just like if men could walk on their hands and women would get turned on, we'd all be walking on our hands. So it's like we are here to please women, and our culture does not pay trash men a lot. So, but you want him to want to do it. So let me tell you how you get a man to want to do it. Take that one's a great one. Because see, women are aware of these things. I'm not aware of the trash. When it's overflowing, it smells bad, then I'll take out the trash. Okay. When it has to go out, I'll take out. This is my instinct. Only do what you have to do. Women are always the flip side of that, to prevent the have to is like protect from it. You're already noticing it's going to happen. You're aware it's going to be disastrous if it doesn't happen. He's not aware of that. He's just, when the bell rings, now the fire alarm is there. My energy comes. All right. So you said a lot in that one little statement, which is, I want him to want to do it. Okay. And you explain why. I gave you a simple explanation, but how do you get him to want to do it? Is I just say, a woman says, I'm going to do different from the trash because I want to make a bigger point here and then come back to the trash for a moment. Bonnie wanted a dog. She went out and bought a dog. It was like, she didn't even check with me. You know, I said, sure, we can have a dog, but she went out and picked one out, came home. I hope that's okay with you, John. I said, yes, honey, it's okay with me. I'm happy with you're happy. So she takes the dog, since, you know, she felt a little guilty picking it out without me there, clearly. So she takes the dog to the vet. In California, you have to go to the doctor 3 times to get shots, to get a license to have a dog. Anyway, so she takes the dog to the vet. She brings the dog home. She takes a good 10 minutes telling me how terrible it was, what a horrible experience it was. Traffic, it's far away. The dog's attached to her, protective of her, made lots of noises, and they had to wait a long time. So she told me this big, terrible story of what happened. And I was fine. And then next time she takes the dog, comes back, says, terrible story of what happened. Then on the third time, she says, so John, we have to take the dog to the vet. We have to take the dog to the vet. Do you want to do it? And in her mind, it's like, hey, I did it twice. Now your turn, right? And I'm cool with that. But basically, she said to me, do you want to do it? And I basically said, no. And she says, what? You won't do it? I didn't say I wouldn't do it. You asked me if I want to do it. Why would I want to do it when you've told me twice how terrible it is? Who wants to do something that bad? So I said, but if it will make you happy, I will be happy to do it. And therefore, now I want to do it. See, that's how men are. We can turn it around. It's hard for women to comprehend that, just as it's hard for men to comprehend. A woman can be upset about something. And if you listen to her talk for a while, she won't be upset about it. It'll be no big deal. It goes from, I'm all upset, to, okay, it's no big deal. Try to remember next time. She can make that change without me promising to do anything. She can share her feelings and feel better. Men, you can say, do you want to do that? No. But if it will make you happy, if I have the signal, this will make you happy, then now I want to do it. And she couldn't get it at that time. No, you don't want to do it. You don't want to do it. And why was she saying that? Because she didn't want me to feel resentful about doing it, which we don't feel resentment like women. Okay. If I get rewarded, you know, I travel around the world. Sometimes I go to China, I go to Australia, I go, all these different places. I love my house. I love being here. I love being here. I don't want to travel anymore. I've kind of been everywhere. But if somebody offers me a lot of money, then I want to travel. Okay, it's as simple as that. You know, do I want to get in a plane with a bunch of sick people? No. But hey, pay me enough, and now I want to do it. Everything for men is determined by what the outcome will be. If the outcome is something that hits my value system. One, if I need money, if the outcome, money will do anything to a man. Suddenly you have money is, you could be a complete opposite political party, and suddenly you're being paid to be the other party. Suddenly you'll see the good in that. That's called bias. The outcome gives you huge bias, and men are very vulnerable to that. So it's easy to train us. So now we come back to your original question, which was bringing out the trash. How do you get him to want to do it? You say to him when he's forgotten, you say, honey, it's no big deal, but sometimes you forget to bring out the trash. And I just wanted to remind you how good I feel when you do it. It's not really a big deal, and walk out of the room. See, we need to get the message from you that it's not a big deal, but it would make you happy. That's the conditions that you start to train a man to do something. Then when he's forgotten to do the trash, you just say, oh, honey, tonight's trash night. That's it. Try to do it in a nice tone of voice. Tonight's trash night. Or just say, or another one would be, it's starting to build up, and you just basically go, that's what Bonnie did with me. Oh, honey, it's trash night. Without any resentment that she was reminding me. There's some things you're going to have to remind your partner for forever. And women have this huge issue of not wanting to ask for things. And it can just be tonight's trash night, or it can simply be, oh, honey, would you empty the trash? You put your hand up. That's your 5-minute thing. Oh, honey, would you empty the trash? Something you could do for yourself that he does for you, and you don't have to do it and makes you feel better. Then I'm doing this thing because it's making you feel better. And it's just 5 minutes. I'm telling you, men are like, and if you want a man to listen to what you're going through, and you want to share a bunch of feelings and everything, this other woman that talked to you, she's the one who wants to go deep, but she doesn't feel she can go deep because her husband's so stressed. But she can say to him when he's out of the cave, oh, honey, when you have a chance, here's one, when you're in your cave, and you say, when you're out of your cave, or when you have the time, I need your help. He's going to go, well, what help does she need? Okay. And then he'll say, what is it? Oh, when you have time, maybe when you're going to the bathroom or something. So he'll say, oh, but he'll just like, well, what is it? I want to know now. Okay. All right. I just want to be able to talk about my day today for less than 10 minutes. And I just need you to listen. You don't have to say anything. Don't say anything. Please don't. I just want to share, vent, reveal, and it makes me feel good. I know it doesn't make sense to you, but to me, I miss you. It makes me feel closer to you when I know you know what I'm going through. And then you share about your day. Now, if you want to train a man to learn how to listen, you don't share complaints about him during that time. See, what you do is you learn how to share stress. That's more in distress, basically. Today, I was frustrated. There was so much traffic on the bridge. I was so disappointed. I got there late. Now I'm concerned they're not going to trust me next time. I was so embarrassed. I said this foolish thing. What you just did is got his full attention because you used your emotions, negative emotions about something that's not him. That's it. Negative emotions, not heavy duty negative emotions. But see, if you just tell me, oh, there was so much traffic on the bridge, I got there late and people didn't get to see my presentation, I'm not sure I'm going to go back. He can't relate to that. He doesn't have any emotion around that. But when you share your emotions around those things, although I may not relate to what's causing your emotions, I can relate to having those emotions. Men have emotions inside. We don't have to talk about them in order to let them go. We mull them over. We just mull it over. We make testosterone and the emotions are resolved. We're a different creature. And psychology has got this all confused. They think all men have to be talking about their feelings all the time. And that's because 90% of the people who come to these guys who write the books are all women. And the guys who do come to talk about, they're on their female side. And when a man's on his female side, he does need to talk. But what I would recommend to women is don't listen. Okay. When he starts talking about his vulnerable feelings, you're going to feel like a mother. Oh, I feel so sad. I don't know if I can get this done. I feel bad. I'm a bad boy. And she's going to feel like I have to love you, and now I have to love you, but then you're going to get sick of him. Women tell me I want to throw up. I get sick. It's just like, and part of that is that when a man goes too far to his female side, and whenever a man has negative emotions, he's too far to his female side. That's a biology. If I have feelings and I have strong masculinity, all I have is positive feelings. When a man has testosterone and estrogen, all he has is love, positive feelings, happiness, joy, motivation, excitement, enthusiasm on top of the world. When I have negative emotions, it means my testosterone's low, my estrogen's up. The last thing I need to do is talk to my wife about my feelings. It will just make more estrogen. That's what happens. If she talks to me about her feelings, it will make more estrogen, but she needs more estrogen, and that will help her stress levels go down. And then whatever she was upset about, it's not so pressing. It's not so urgent. It's not a big deal. She can remember, hey, life's not perfect. We can resolve these things if we're not in a stress response. But when we're producing a stress response, the brain focuses on negativity. And women are way more vulnerable to that. That's why they need more talking and men need more quiet. Okay.
I mean, there we go. We are definitely going to have to do a part 2 of this, and I'll get some questions from the audience because we went through so much and I have so much more to ask, but John Gray, this was absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I know that this is going to resonate with just about everyone, and anyone who hasn't read your books, I know will be like, okay, where do I get them? So where can people find you?
Okay. Well, I know that if people are listening to you, they go online at marsvenus.com. We have a free class just so you start to see the quality of our work. But then for women, we have a 6-week program that my daughter teaches. I edited it with her, but she teaches it. It's brilliant. It's better than any of my books, but it's called Understanding Men. And if you have a husband, he can watch it with you. But it's for women just to understand all about men, like to understand you don't want to ask a man the questions about his feelings, but you do want to have some talking. Talking is good. Ask a man, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? As soon as you say, what do you think? A man can speak easily without going to his female side. I was once doing an Oprah show, and Oprah was practicing being a therapist. And she asked the woman what she was feeling, and she had a big problem because they got married and he kept spending time with his guy friends. And then, so that was one point of view. And she said, now how do you feel about that? And the guy literally couldn't talk. He was like, and I said, Oprah, try saying, what does he think about that? Instantly, she said that. Instantly, the guy had, well, I think it's unfair. Like, why do suddenly I have to change everything because I get married? Nobody told me about that. And, I should have some awareness that I had to give up this and give up that. And wait a second, I have my life too. He had so much to say. Just what do you think about that? Because you're not trying to help somebody when you ask them what you're thinking. And as a matter of fact, you're trying to have them help you. And that's the key, is create a space where if a man's too far on his female side, he's moody, he's stressed, he's stuck in that place. You need to out-female him. That's the key. That's what will actually get him out of the cave. That's part of the whole course of understanding men. If a man is too far on his female side, for some men, they'll stay stuck in the cave because as soon as they come out of the cave, they're in touch with their female side, and their female side gets hurt easily, pouts, takes things personally, gets angry. Push him into the cave. Go somewhere and be happy. Okay, your happiness is what will pull him out of the cave. And I saw that one time. I was in a bad mood. And, I got a bad review. Men from Mars never received a positive print interview. Can you imagine that? Never a positive in-print, positive thing about Men from Mars. On TV, I was great. But on the print, they're all jealous because I was number one. All right. So I understood that. But still, you get bummed out sometimes. So I was all bummed out. And Bonnie had read the book. And so she said, I called up a friend and said, I need your support. But John says in the book that when a man's in his cave stuck, you should go out and do something that makes you happy. She said, I felt so guilty doing something that'd be happy when my husband's suffering. No, that's the opposite of what you think. Go out and do something wonderful for yourself. So she went out with her friends. She went shopping. She came home, and there I'm sort of in my cave. And she said, honey, look, I bought 3 new dresses. You want to see them? I said, okay. And then she's putting them on. Suddenly my mood completely changed because I feel like, okay, something good in my life. My wife's happy. I did that. That's what men will always do. They will take credit for how you feel. If you feel bad, they feel blamed. If you feel good, we feel like I made you happy. This is our attachment to you. It's being responsible for that, and has good sides to it, not such good sides to it.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm going to go sign up for this course.
There. I realized that you were finishing everything. I know
we did. We're going to do a part 2 for this. This was absolutely incredible, John. Thank you so much. I will put everything in the show notes. And I really just want to thank you for all your wisdom and what you're doing to help people of my generation, my mother's generation, and I'm sure generations to come. So thank you, John Gray. And until next week, here's to a sharper life.